First of all, mindset is about expectations, right? So, attachment to results creates suffering, especially if they're results that we cannot control. And the reality of it is the marketplace that we used to be in, that wasn't that long ago, up until about a year and a half ago, was a instant gratification mindset.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Influencers, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry technology, and services to help you be a mortgage influencer in your mortgage business. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Influencers podcast. My name is Ginger Bell. I have with me our co-host, Scott Schang. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
And Steve Richman. Hello, Steve.
Good morning or afternoon, wherever you are.
Wherever you are. And today I'm excited because we have a special guest, someone I have known for a long time and really needs no introduction other than his name, the one and only Tim Braheem. Hello, Tim.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, you guys.
Oh, we're excited. So I am going to let people know, because a lot of it, for me, I met you with Loan Toolbox. And so and I can just tell you, huge fan, Tim. Everything that you did with Loan Toolbox had a huge impact on everything that I've done. So I want to thank you for that leadership, that mentorship, and everything you did to have a huge impact on our industry. So first and foremost, that if you are joining in and have been a member of Loan Toolbox back in the day, or remember Tim and his wonderful content, his conferences, let us know. Always good to have that blast from the past. But right now, Tim is the founder of Leadership 360. He has the 360 Experience podcast and Performance Experts. And so thank you, Tim, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm just flattered that you remember Loan Toolbox. It takes us back quite a while, doesn't it?
Oh, wow. We talk about, it's so funny. No one has filled that space. And Scott and I often talk about that no one has really come in and completely fulfilled that space. And, I think it's one of those things as an originator to be able to have access to content you can use, to have it streamlined in processes, and to have people like-minded come together is very helpful. And then one of the reasons we started the podcast. But I want to talk about what we're here to talk about. And if you have questions, please type them in for those of you who are watching us through Facebook, type it in there. For those who are watching us live, you can type them in there. But we started before we went live here, and something that I know is on everyone's mind. And because you do so much as far as coaching, I want to be able to just really start with, how do you handle mindset right now? I mean, we're going to talk about some of the things they need to do, but what should loan originators be doing right now to be able to manage their mindset and to stay focused on activities?
Sure, I'll take both of those, the activities and the mindset, all in one stream of consciousness. I mean, first of all, mindset is about expectations, right? So, attachment to results creates suffering, especially if they're results that we cannot control. And the reality of it is the marketplace that we used to be in, that wasn't that long ago, up until about a year and a half ago, was a instant gratification mindset. It didn't take an awful lot to be successful in the business. Let's be honest about it. And the activities that we were engaged in during that period of time were about leadership, process flow and efficiency, time management, and trying to get as many loans funded as we possibly could. And we would get our gratification from our successes, and our successes were very easily associated with how many loans did you lock this week? And people were throwing out numbers of anywhere between 5 and 25, okay? And you get that dopamine hit, that adrenaline hit, and it feels really good. The only thing that didn't feel good is that you were working a lot harder than you wanted to work, but it felt really good when you got your check at the end of the month.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, seemingly on a dime, and that's not new because it's always been this way, that it does turn on a dime. All of a sudden, that gratification wasn't there anymore. So one's ability to feel good about oneself on an emotional level was stripped away very quickly. So, to answer your question, we need to redefine what a successful week looks like. If we're still defining a successful week by how many loans we've locked, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment, frustration, and even questioning whether or not. I had a guy yesterday on a national Zoom call that I was doing saying, I'm finding myself questioning whether or not I should keep doing this. And I know that feeling. I mean, but that feeling comes from having a skewed mindset as to what success looks like. This is a market that we're in right now that is about planting seeds. I know you've heard the analogy of planting seeds and they're going to, germinate later and all these types of things. But these are the markets where real loan originators and real estate agents are made. And the reason that I say that is because in the former market that we were in, you didn't have to possess a vast amount of skills to be successful. In today's market, you have to really get good at several things that maybe you weren't required to be good at before. You need to be really good at your critical knowledge of product. Okay, those are the things that will allow you to get a deal done that maybe somebody else couldn't get done, that
Mhm.
will subsequently generate a new relationship that will be one that will be valuable to you in the future for many years to come. And let's actually isolate that for a second. In a refi market, you do a deal, you get your paycheck, you move on. We get that instant gratification hit that I'm talking about. But in this market, a relationship could be worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in the future if it's a true relationship. So today's market is about building relationships. And I want to get into your database here in a minute and how to do that with referral partners. But let's first establish that the mindset needs to shift from transactional to relational. In the previous market, it was very transactional. How many loans can I get done? Now it's very relational. How many friendships can I build? And I want to really use the term friendship because I think it's an important one. I've said for 20 plus years, the loan originator with the most friends wins. Okay, but relationships take time. They take time to establish, they take time to yield. So patience is required. So what we want to be measuring our success by is the amount of meaningful connections we're forging on a weekly basis rather than the amount of loans that we're locking on a weekly basis. The amount of meaningful connections we are creating on a weekly basis will result in the future in you generating a lot more loans than you can even dream of if you do it the right way now. But this is a market that requires patience. It requires you becoming very resourceful, meaning, again, knowing the products that you have to offer, knowing the products you're competing against and how to sell against them, really understanding on a deep level how to structure loans. So I went through two of these markets, 94 and 99. I remember vividly in 1999 sitting down with three different CPAs for lunch and asking them to teach me how to read tax returns. And the reason that I wanted them to teach me how to read tax returns and all the schedules is because I realized that my livelihood is going to depend upon me being able to get deals done that other originators can't get done because they don't know how to break down a file in the way that I know I need to be able to break a file down to get the tough deal done. 3 years ago, you passed on the tough deals because they slowed you down. Now the tough deals are your gateway. It's the key that unlocks the door to that connection and that relationship that you need so desperately right now and for your future. So the things you need to be mastering right now to break it down: product knowledge, understanding how to structure deals. You need to master your sales presentation, your scripting. Let me give you an example of that. I used to put a tape recorder. I'm going to really date myself now, and I'm sure that Steve's going to be able to relate to this, okay? So I used to put a tape recorder on my desk. And whenever I would have a call with a prospective borrower or a referral partner, I'd just hit record and I would talk to them. And then when I was done, I would hit rewind and I'd go back and I'd listen to it and I'd take notes on the things that I thought that I said really well. Okay, how do I capitalize on this even more? And what are the things that I don't like the way I sounded? It's this critical analysis this becoming a student of your craft and continually evolving and refining the way you present yourself that will allow for you to convert one extra person a month that you wouldn't have gotten had you not done this process. And then the third thing is marketing. I mean, these are the three things we need to be thinking about right now: our knowledge, our sales presentation skills, and how are we getting at bats. Marketing generates at bats. Sales presentations increase your batting average. You don't have as many at bats as you used to have, so you need to figure out how to get in front of more people. And then number two is you need to figure out how to convert at a higher percentage than you were in the past. You could afford to be a 150 or 200 hitter back in the refi boom, and you still made a ton of money. Now you need to hit 300 or 350 or 400 for those of you that are baseball fans out there. I'm going to hit pause there because I want to go deeper on the subject matter of relationships and defining what successes are. But I want to see if, I could talk forever and I don't want to dominate the conversation. I want to see if you guys have anything else to say.
Scott, you usually have a good question. I can see he's like holding back. He's like, okay, I've got like,
no, he's actually, all I can do is just completely confirm everything that he's saying. I mean, it's, I don't say it as eloquently, but I 100% agree with you. I don't have anything to add to that. I think that's the absolute best advice in this market. But it's that, you really have to recognize, and I say this often, this is the market for building your database. Whoever has the biggest database with the highest trust is going to win. But you say it so much better with whoever has the most friends wins, but that's really what it is. It's not, it's not just touching your database, it's having a relationship with them. They get to know you, they trust you, and you'll earn their business when the market is available to them. But right now, there is no lack of demand. There's no lack of people that have questions about what's happening in the market and what does this mean to me? And it's an opportunity for you to build relationships with those folks, so that when the market does go in their favor so that they can take advantage, you're the first person that they think of. So no, please continue. I want to hear more.
No, that's perfect, Scott. So let's take two steps back and analyze the word relationship or friendship, either one. Pick whichever one resonates more for you. We like to throw around the term relationship, referral partner relationships, but I don't think enough time is really spent on what constitutes a relationship. Mm-hmm. So think of the relationships that you have in your life that are meaningful to you. In most cases, they're meaningful to you because that person has made some type of an impact on you that is memorable and valuable to you. Now, that could be they've given you advice. It could be that they made you laugh. I have lots of relationships that I revere because they make me laugh. And laughter is an underestimated virtue in today's world. It could be because they just make you feel good because they see you and they show that they care. Okay, so what we're looking for is relationships. So let's talk about the database. And I want everyone to hear me so clearly on this. I can't say this with any more passion and vigor. You do not want the next phone call that you make to your database. You don't want that call to be the one where you're selling them something. Mm-hmm. That's not the next phone call. Okay, there's a lot of pressure that originators put on themselves, and I presume realtors as well. And they don't call their database because they don't feel like they have the right script. Like, I don't know what to say. I hear this all the time. Like, I know I need to call them, but everybody's at 2 5/8. Like, what do I say? You're missing it. Again, we need to redefine what a successful week looks like. What if a successful week was how many people in that database I could have a connection with, serve them in some way? And again, it could be hearing them, it could be making them laugh, it could be asking them if there's anything that they need that you might be able to help them with. Take all the pressure off, take out of the equation that your objective is to get a deal. It could happen that you'll get a deal by making these calls, but that's not the objective. The objective is to show them that you care. You need to be contacting every single person during this slow time when you have the time and asking them how they're doing. So many people in your database don't want to be in the home that they're currently in, but they're trapped because rates are way too high and their tax basis is much lower than if they were to buy something else. Okay, so it's not time right now to get them to move forward, but it is time right now to show them you care. Because if you show them that you care and you simply call them without an agenda, ask them how they're doing, guess what happens to their guard for those of you that are watching? It starts to go down. Oh, wow, she's calling me for no other reason, just say hi. Wow, what a pleasant conversation that was for 5 minutes with that person. Now, when rates do drop, or when they decide they do want to move forward with buying another home, they're going to call you, or when you call them, they're going to be very receptive to your phone call and not comparing you to the other 5 people that are soliciting them because you're the one that they have a connection with. You're the one that cared about them enough to stay in touch with them. But again, and in closing, most originators don't stay in touch because they feel like they don't know what to say. And then 2 years, 3 years, 5 years go by, and now they really have call reluctance because they have guilt. Because they say, well, they might have refied with somebody else for all I know. I can't call them. I don't want to be embarrassed. Take all the pressure off. This is a market about building friendships. The more friendships you build right now, the more it will yield in the months ahead. I can promise you that. I know that from personal experience.
Well, I think a lot of it too in building those relationships. And Rick Rock, I know you know Rick, good friend of ours for a long time in the industry. Hello, Rick. Has said it's building the right relationships. And so that's part of that discovery too. When you're calling those real estate agents, is building those relationships, finding those right relationships, finding those friends, and deepening those relationships. And so even if you haven't made a call, a lot of people through refis did not call real estate agents. They're like, well, I haven't talked to them in a long time. That's okay. Make the first call. Make that first call. We've also found, and we produce a lot of podcasts that loan officers are doing, inviting, and that first call or the second call, and sometimes even the third call is like, hey, come onto my podcast. Let me help you with your marketing. Let me showcase some of the things that you're doing. You know, we had Theone Rappo on last week, and she talked about she's calling real estate agents who have open houses and saying, hey, can I come in and showcase your home on my channel, because she has a lot of followers. And so it's not just a matter of calling and saying, hey, how you doing? But it's a matter of calling and saying, hey, how can I help? You know, how can we get through this together? What are the things that we can do? I always say there's 2 ways to give in life. You can give hand up where somebody's taking, you're expecting something in return, or you can give hand down where you're giving. And realtors can sense that when you come in with like, hey, I'm just looking for a deal. I know you have a relationship with everybody has an in-house lender, or if they don't, that's the excuse they use, right? So put that aside. Even if they say that, say, great, of course, I would expect you to have an in-house lender. I'm not looking to be that lender. I'm looking to get to know you. And that takes that barrier down, just as you're saying, you're getting to know you. What are the challenges that you're having? You know, what are the things you're going through? Scott, you've done so much with AI lately. And that's one of the things that, you know, if you're around AI, if you know AI, if you want to get to know AI, you know, helping them, hey, here's some tools you can use for AI to help you in your marketing. I mean, be that friend that's not a sometimes friend, but a helpful friend, someone that's deepening that relationship.
What Tim says, and it's sort of reminding me of, and I believe it's Adele. If it's not Adele, I apologize, but it's how what you're saying, Tim, applies to other industries. All of a sudden, she got in the deep, and everybody goes, "Oh, who is this woman?" And you're an overnight success. And she's like, "It took me 20 years to become an overnight success, because during the past 20 years, when you didn't know me, I was doing what? I was marketing, I was perfecting my voice, and I was working on my network so that when the opportunity struck, just like you said, it's going to come back. It turns on a dime. When that opportunity strikes, boom, here I am, and I'm ready to go. It took me 20 years to become an overnight success. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Hey, do all the right things now, and then that's setting you up for the future. I think that's what you're saying.
Yes, of course. Of course. Yes, absolutely. That's a great analogy to Adele. Let me give you a couple of scripts, okay, to take some of the pressure off. So one of them's mine. One of them is a dear friend of mine, client of mine, Mark Robertson, whose episode of my podcast just aired. Let's start with him and realtors. So what he's been doing, and I think this is brilliant, is he's gone back all the way to 2008, I believe he said. And he's calling every realtor that he did a transaction with since 2008. And his script is a gratitude call. So he calls them to thank them. He said, he tells the truth, which, by the way, the truth is the easiest script. You don't need to memorize anything. Just tell the truth. People love vulnerability. Their guard drops when they can feel your vulnerability. Their guard goes up when they can feel your agenda. If your agenda is to be vulnerable, they feel safe, their guard comes down, and they're much more receptive. Most, real estate agents, the good ones especially, are used to getting solicited all the time. That's why their guard's up real high, and they have all the objection scripts. They have to, or else they'd be doing 7 lunches a day with all the inquiries that they get, okay? So he calls them up and he just simply says, hey, I was going through my database and I realized that I haven't talked to you in forever, but I just want to say thank you for that loan that we worked on together back in 2013. When I reflect upon how much that helped my business grow and what I learned from that transaction and the people that I met, and I've refinanced those people a couple of times, it occurred to me that I've been really late in giving you a call just to say thank you. Now, here's what he gets every time. Oh my gosh. Wow, really? Well, you're welcome. The worst thing that he gets is, well, hey, thank you very much for calling. And that's it. But oftentimes it ends up being a 10 or 15-minute conversation because the person asks him questions about, what are you doing with artificial intelligence right now? Or I see your name all the time out there on Instagram. How are you creating your reels, etc. But he starts the call by simply thanking them and having no agenda other than showing appreciation. Another script that you can use, and this is one of mine, is I would be calling my database right now and also just simply asking them questions about their existing home that they're in. I wanted to touch base with you. One of the things that I've been running into a bit lately is I've had a lot of people call me up and tell me that they really want to move from their existing home. They want to be in that neighborhood that has the school district that they're looking for. They want to have a big enough backyard for a swimming pool. Or they want to be next to open space because they love nature, but they kind of feel like they're trapped in their home. So one of the things that I've been doing is identifying a strike rate for them, helping them. We run numbers and we identify where do rates need to be in the future for you to be able to make the move that you want to make. And once we've identified that strike rate, I'm just going to stay in touch with you and make you aware of where rates are fluctuating too. So you go through the numbers with them, you use whatever tool you use, an MBS Highway or Mortgage Coach Total Cost Analysis, you run numbers and you come to the conclusion of, okay, they want to own a home that's going to cost, 800,000 and their current home's worth 650,000. So they're going to have a bump in mortgage payment. Where does that rate need to be? Right now, we know at 7.5%, it's just too much. Even with the after-tax calculations and all of that is too much. Let's identify where it does need to be and database that. So one day when rates drop to 6.25, you can run a report and say, give me everybody in my database that has a strike rate of 6.25, and 11 people show up, and now you know who to call, because not everybody in your database is created equal. To your point, you need to be able to have intelligence on what their needs are and where the market needs to be for those needs to be fulfilled. So you can proactively, as soon as it's available, call them up and go, hey, guess what? I've been monitoring this for you. You remember the call we had 7 months ago? We're there. Do you still want that house that has 4 bedrooms and the swimming pool in the backyard? Fantastic. Let me introduce you to a real estate agent who I think is outstanding in your area that can list your home, etc. But this is the time to be setting up your future like Adele did, just to tie it back to that.
I love that. Let's talk about, because you mentioned Mark, who was on your podcast. And I think focusing on and getting back to what we started off with, mindset, finding those podcasts that are out there, like your podcast. And there's, several podcasts that you listen to, and talking about habits. So what are the habits you need to be doing to get that mindset? And I start my day out listening. I don't listen to the news. I listen to something, whether it's a podcast, whether it's something on YouTube. And so your podcast, share with us how to find your podcast and what else they should be listening to and doing to get that mindset at the beginning of the day.
It's a great point. How you start your day is how your day will unfold, for sure. So the podcast is the 360 Experience with Tim Braheem, and it's on Spotify and Apple and YouTube and all those places. So thank you for letting me share that. Okay, so what what is your morning routine? So let's talk about inner narrative for here for a minute, because I think that what we're really trying to do is rewire our thinking. So, you know, not to get too deep in science, but I have studied a lot about neuroplasticity and, and a lot of other topics in relating to the brain and thought. So if you have a thought that's constantly running in your subconscious, you're burning a neural pathway in your brain that's a perpetual thought loop. Okay. You have roughly 90,000 thoughts a day, give or take. And somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 85% of them are the exact same thoughts you had yesterday. Okay. Just to prove out the perpetual thought loop here. So the question is, what's the new thought you want to embody? So one of the things that I introduced to my clients back at the end of last year was you get asked this question all the time of like, hey, how are you doing? Okay. I mean, how many times a day are you asked that? You get on a phone call with somebody, hey, how's it going? Pay very close attention to what your response is. Because if your response is, I'm okay, we all know that I'm okay means you're not okay. Okay. When you and I got on today, Ginger, you asked me how I'm doing. I said, I'm doing good. I said, I'm doing really good. I said, how are you? And you said, I'm great. Those are the kind, and the energy behind our responses is what you really want to track. I'm okay versus I'm great. Okay. So being very vigilant and a custodian of the words that come out of your mouth and the thoughts that you allow to enter your consciousness is very important. So the mantra that I introduced to my clients was when a realtor or one of your work colleagues asks you, how are you doing today? Or how's business? That's another one. How's business? Oh, well, it sucks. I mean, well, it's not as good as it was last year. Okay. How about replacing it with, I'm figuring it out. I'm just figuring it out right now. I'm trying new things. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm figuring it out. That's your mantra. Now, even as I say that, I can feel the energy running through me of optimism, of curiosity, of openness to learning and growing versus that closed, constricted, it's tough right now. So really getting vigilant with that, writing down 3 things every morning that you're grateful for, in your journal, meditating on gratitude if that's your thing, or prayer if that's your thing. And to your point, and I cannot agree with you more, Ginger. So just a little insight to me, right? I'm a very emotional person, and things don't just roll off my back like they do a lot of people I know. Like I'm super sensitive. So I started watching myself back in the earlier part of this year, migrating to a lot of AI podcasts and a lot of Bitcoin podcasts. I have investments in Bitcoin. I'm intrigued by AI. But what I realized after a while is that neither of those 2 subject matters are serving me. Because AI is going to, robots are taking over the world, and I can't stop thinking about that, and it's dominating my consciousness. And Bitcoin podcasts often go to, the financial markets are going to collapse. And then I start worrying, I'm looking at my stock portfolio too much. And well, do I need to sell now? Do I need to move to Costa Rica? Like I go, I'm not good. Some people that are listening to this are like, wow, that sounds like you're a basket case because that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. God bless you, and I'm super stoked for you. Knowing thyself is my point. What are the things that lift you up? What are the things that support your energy vibrating at a high level? And what are the things that bring you down and disturb your peace? And knowing what serves you is a vital thing right now. So to your question of podcasts, my answer is it depends upon you, but feeding your mind with the things that serve you and bring out the best version of you is a very important thing right now. So seeking those types of things out, I think, is really important.
Very good. Thank you. And there's so many opportunities to find that. And so exploring that and finding out and I think, you say knowing thyself, and so many times we don't take the time to listen and to know, I mean, what that is, what triggers you, what gets you excited, what is that gets you excited? So maybe it is learning something, in your marketing, what gets you excited that you're going to do on a consistent basis? And I think in the mortgage industry, a lot of us haven't done a lot of marketing. And so the thought of it just is overwhelming. So finding out what excites you and gets those adrenalines going, I think is very important.
So I'll give you a quick next action to that, Ginger,
Perfect.
is go to the 5 people that are closest to you in your life, your kids, your parents, your spouse, your best friend, whoever that is, and ask them this question. What are the things that you see me do that when I come back from doing them, I'm the best version of myself? And they're going to reflect it to you. Like my kids, when I ask them that question, my kids say, when you do a retreat, whenever you go do, when you host a retreat with your clients, whenever you go do a personal development workshop, when you come back, you're always great for like a week. Then it kind of starts to deteriorate. But they know because they feel you, they get to experience your energy. They can give you the answers that could be very helpful for you to, and then you can ask the opposite. Like if I ask my wife, what are the things that I do that don't have me as the best version of myself? She'd say, listening to Bitcoin podcast. You always come back and you're worried. Okay. So like take some time to really assess yourself and know yourself.
Perfect. I love that. Well, we're at the top of the hour, so I'm going to head and conclude this. But Tim, thank you so much. I mean, just
Thank you.
such great information, insightful, and I know very helpful to our entire audience. So thank you so much for joining us. Scott, Steve, thank you for joining us as well. And next week, we are going to be talking about AI because our guest will be Chris Johnstone. So Scott, you're going to get to enjoy that. I just heard back from him. So again, Tim, and if people want to follow you, it's the 360 Experience podcast. And where can they find you on your website?
www.performance-experts.com.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. And thank you to everybody for taking time out of their day to listen to this.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
You guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.